What's up, Jerry? How's it going, man? Feel free, guys, while people start to come into the stream, you can turn on your mic if you'd like. Yeah, how's it going, fellas?
Good, good. You've been traveling a lot?
Yeah, man. I just got back in town from a show yesterday. It was a 4-day road show out in Nebraska for a commercial, and so yeah, just got back in first day off. Just kind of catching up on some admin stuff and prepping for a 3-day shoot next week, a commercial for a company called Shot Tracker. So yeah,
Oh, nice.
how you been?
Good, good. Yeah, getting ready to prep for a shoot at Salina, Kansas, of all places.
Oh,
Yeah, so heading out there to just a corporate thing, but just doing some stuff out there. So that's coming up soon. So were you out with Tony Laddish recently shooting something for him?
yeah. He was the director on that show.
Oh, okay, yeah, he was like the first person. My first thing I did, I worked with him. When I first started out 8 or 10 years ago or so. But he's a good guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he was the director on that show, and so yeah, he did a really good job on that piece. That's really small world, man. We definitely got to connect at some point for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. I hope that show goes well. Who's that? What's the shoot for? What's up, Maya and Priscilla? How's it going?
It's a company out in Overland Park called Ad Astra. So they're a educational technology company. So we're shooting like a kind of a documentary about their company history and things like that. So
Gotcha. Very cool. Maya, by the way, I just got back in town. I caught a day off today. As soon as we're done with this live stream, I'm gonna donate to your GoFundMe. I've been meaning to do that, and so didn't want you to think I forgot about you. I definitely want to support that. Maya,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. How's the campaign going?
It's a challenge, as everything, but it's going well. Taking it a day at a time.
Yeah, that's all you can do. You should drop a link to that in the chat if you like.
Yeah.
Maya is a really, really talented filmmaker from Tennessee, and she's got a really cool web series called We Are Maya that she's raising funds for. It's a really, really cool thing, and she's killing it. Super, super talented. Really glad you're
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm trying.
That's all we can do. What's up, Priscilla?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, that's a cool looking space.
Oh, thanks. It's my kitchen.
Yeah, that's really, really neat.
Yeah, how's it going, man?
It's good, thank you. Just got back in town, so finally got a day to just kind of catch up on some post-shoot stuff and invoicing and all that good stuff and just wrap stuff. So yeah, I've been really, really good. Thanks. How are you doing?
Good. Just editing some stuff today. Relaxing, enjoying LA.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll wait a few more minutes while other people start. I don't know how many. It's kind of last minute, but I'm really mad because the stream the other day was a really, really fun and really, really good live stream, but there was just kind of a bug that took place with it, and for some reason the recording didn't go through, and so I couldn't share it. And so if you were on the stream the other day, some of this stuff will be kind of rehashed, but so I don't know how many people will be on this, but we'll wait a few more minutes and then we'll kind of get started. But I'm just gonna kind of go through some of my process when it comes to pre-production, when a job comes across the desk, like my first when interacting with directors and kind of sharing visual ideas. And so we'll see how many people are on it. If it's just us 5, then that's fine. If more people will tune in, that's cool as well. But we'll get started here in a few minutes. So yeah, feel free while people trickle in, if you want to hop on the mic and just talk. Everybody, if you just kind of want to introduce yourself too, I think that'd be kind of cool. Especially if it's just going to be a few of us. I think it'd be kind of cool just to kind of go one by one and just kind of maybe share where you're from, like what you're up to these days. Just kind of want to give the intro. Priscilla, maybe you want to start and we can just kind of let's go from there.
Yeah, so what's up, guys? My name is Priscilla. I am born and raised here in Los Angeles. I actually met Morgan this past weekend with two other really cool dudes, Mason and Thomas. And it's pretty cool because Mason actually works like across the street from my house. So we're already kind of starting to connect and stuff.
There we
So
go.
it's really awesome. But yeah, I'm a designer, filmmaker, and I love kind of making music documentaries. And yeah, I mean, I'll keep it brief and give everyone time. But like, you know, if any of you guys ever want to hit me up, I'm on the forums too, stuff. So really excited to hear what everyone is up to and where they're from.
Nice, that's awesome. Thanks, Priscilla. Maya, you want to kind of introduce yourself and just where you're from and kind of what you're up to?
Hi everyone, I'm Maya. I'm originally from Maryland, but I currently live in Nashville, Tennessee. Recently graduated from film school and my focus was cinematography and editing. So I mostly do short films and music videos and like promo videos and some local commercials right now. But my big project is a series that I'm working on called #WeirdMaya that I also act in, that I created. So my project right now it's a web-based series, but I'm working on developing it to hopefully produce the full-length series for a network.
So super, super good. Super talented. I love the just kind of the premise in the world that you're building with that, Maya.
Thank you.
Yeah, super dope. Thanks for sharing. Let's see. What's up? What's up, Jeremiah?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How you doing, man?
Good. So my name's Jer. I'm from upstate New York. I'm currently at college at RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology. I originally started out in the motion picture science program there, which is kind of like imaging science and film mixed together. But now I'm currently in the School of Visualized Studies, where I'm studying film, photography, marketing and advertising, as well as business too. So I run a business up in Rochester doing video production, graphic design, photography, and social media marketing. I have 4 other people that work with me right now. One's a graphic designer, 2 are shooters, and 1 is another editor. And just been going back from a slow summer, and now I've just been getting calls all week, just getting hammered with calls. So I'm been doing some work right now. We do a lot of weddings. We do a lot of commercial advertising, a lot of nonprofit fundraising. That's our big one. So yeah, that's all for me.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, New York in the building. That's dope. Very, very cool, man. I hope, you know, I hope your bandwidth is, you know, it's working out. I know sometimes when it's a good thing when the calls start coming in, but you know, yeah, the flood can be kind of crazy sometimes. So
yeah, it was good to see a lot of old clients returning for some more work, and then we had 2 big, huge clients get in touch with us. So I'm really excited to hear from the big client whether or not we got the job or not, because I put out one of the biggest bids I've ever done. So very exciting.
Yeah, super exciting. Good luck with that, man. I hope that comes together. So
thank you.
Great. So Brady's from KC as well. Brady, if you kind of want to introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, Brady Keckler. I'm from Kansas City. Originally, I left a while ago to go to Vancouver. I went to Vancouver Film School and studied digital design. Then went to Sydney, Australia for a while, and now back in Kansas City. But yeah, sounds kind of, we got a lot of us got stuff in common in terms of having kind of a diverse background in terms of graphic design and different things, which is cool. You know, when I went to film school, that was a big thing for me, is I wanted to do something that I didn't have experience in and really learn about design and all aspects of it. But I run a small, little kind of boutique agency here in Kansas City. We do design, interactive work, but more and more focusing purely on production. Again, I think with like a lot of us, hit a lot of nonprofits and other kind of corporate stuff. But just want to kind of develop more and more, like, it's like, I think more than any other thing that I touch, like, cinematography and like just the ability to make beautiful images is like what really inspires me. So that's why I'm here. That's why I want to learn more and try to get better.
Awesome, man. So it's all about, for sure. Thanks for sharing, man. And then, cool. Alec, if you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of get started with this thing. I'm not sure if you've got a mic, Alec. If you oh, okay, no mic. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, so Alec posted some information in the chat. So yeah, I appreciate you guys all jumping on this thing last minute. Like I said, I felt really, really bad because the last stream, unfortunately, we were just having issues with the recording aspect of it, and for some reason it didn't go through, and so I lost that content. So I just wanted to do this again, just to make sure everyone was able to view it who couldn't make it. And so some other people might trickle in, but if not, it'll just be us six, which is great. So yeah, first and foremost, I kind of want to just open the floor for the first 10 minutes just to answer any specific questions you have about the pre-production process. No question can be too big or too small. And then I'm going to kind of go into my approach when a job comes across my desk, and just how I approach it and how I communicate the visual language in order to land jobs. You know, oftentimes what happens, especially if it's a first-time director, a director I haven't worked with, the agency will say, hey, this director is interested in hiring you for this job, would like to communicate, would like to hear your ideas based off the treatment. And then boom, that's when I kind of jump into action and incorporate my process. But to start, do you guys have any just questions? Could be big, broad, whatever, about pre-production, or like just any quick questions before we jump into that? And feel free, you can ask on the mic if you want, or you can type it in the chat. I kind of, to be honest with you, I actually kind of like it when there's less people, just because it's easier to share questions, and so we don't have a ton of feedback on the mic. So if you want to jump on the mic and ask questions, that's fine, or you can type it in the chat. Do any of you guys have any specific questions?
Yeah, I did have one. So I had the client I was talking about that has come up. They are working out of the graphic design department, so they're not really the marketing or anything like that, and they're not going through an agency. So they're having us do a lot of the pre-production and the visualization prior to, you know, just the actual production. So when you're working with a client, what is your preferred method of showing them, you know, your idea? Is it storyboarding? Is it you know, CG visualization? Because I know there's like CineGame by Cinematography Database. They're doing cool things with that, and some people like that. What do you do?
Yeah, good question. I mean, to be honest with you, that's right in line with where I was going to start, and so I guess we'll just jump right in.
Cool.
Across my desk, an agency or producer will reach out, sometimes creative director, and say, hey, we've got this commercial for blank brand, and we'll use this brand I'm shooting for next week, Shot Tracker. We'll use that kind of as the example for the show, since that popped up a few weeks ago, and I'm shooting that second week. That's a job I've been prepping. And so, you know, I was reached out to by agency, and they said, hey, we're working with the director, Chris Brown, on this commercial, and he's interested in hiring you to handle the cinematography for this commercial. They kind of laid the scope of the project, a 30, a 60, to air on ESPN, just like all these different spec aspects of it, kind of the scale of the production. And they sent me the treatment, and they said, you know, he wants to hear about your ideas if you want to follow up with him through email. And so there's a few ways you can approach that. And this is just the way I approach it. In those situations, it's important to make yourself stand out. And so to do that, I feel like it's really important to show the director, show the agency, show the producer on the project that you're fully invested, and that you communicate ideas quickly. And so I got that job, so that treatment came across my desk, and I was on a show that day when it happened. And so I look at it at lunch, and I say, you know, as soon as I wrap this job, I'm heading to a coffee shop, and I'm going to put together a lookbook, basically illustrating my ideas. And so a lookbook is very similar to a treatment. It's just more from our perspective as cinematographers, ways to communicate ideas that we have. And so I'm going to just screen share what I put together. And I put this together in 90 minutes. It's not super pretty. It's not cine design or anything like that. It's just a quick high level overview of my creative ideas in terms of you know, the visualization that I want to set forth in this project to make sure that the director and my vision are in line, if I'm in the right ballpark in terms of the director's vision, and also just my taste. Like, hey, this is the type of feel that I think would work well for this project. And so I'm going to screen share this so you guys can take a look. Oh, weird. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this is like a really, really quick, rough, not necessarily dirty. It's just not super sophisticated by any means. But the whole thing about pre-production, pre-visualization in general, you know, you want it to look decent. Like, it doesn't look terrible, but you want it to be structured, easy to understand. And more than anything, the thing about pre-visualization, it's all about creating visual ideas. And so, to answer your question, man, it doesn't necessarily have to be Cinema 4D or, you know, 3D renders. That stuff is nice, you know, but not everybody has access to it. And depending on the job, it's not budgeted for it. You know, here's the thing. I've been looking to get into 3D for a while and create 3D renders of stuff like that. I just haven't had the time just due to my workload. Going from job to job, it's hard to find, you know, a week to really get into 3D and stuff like that. More importantly, it's all about just getting an idea, you know what I mean? And so this is what I put together for the director. Like I said, 90 minutes, just rough and dirty to show him that I have some stake. I'm interested in the project. I'm willing to invest this time. I wasn't asked to put together a movie for this project. Some projects, they request it, but there's some projects where they just say, hey, just want to share you some quick ideas. I put this together to show him that I'm serious about it. And I got it to him by end of the day. That helps as well. And so some potential color palettes. I did some quick research on the brand. These are the brand. These are some of the colors that popped out to me of potential palette in terms of our lighting. And that'll inform some of the decisions that I make. And this actually trickled into, you know, I landed this job. Spoiler alert, I landed the job. But these were some of the color palettes I thought would work well for this. Some of the tone, just some of the words that come to my mind, some of the buzzwords that when I think of their brand, when I saw the treatment. All of these are just very, very quick, simple ways to illustrate some visual ideas that I have in terms of camera, action, lighting, all that stuff. And so then I pulled some stills. So right here, based off the treatment, they put together storyboards. And these were just some of the images that came to my mind. I've got a colleague who shot this piece, and I gave him a quick text, say, hey, do you mind if I pull some of your stills for this lookbook I'm putting together? And this is in no way to bite this person's style. Like, the piece I'm shooting is different than this. It doesn't have any sort of the same colors or tonality necessarily. It's a basketball piece that I'm shooting. I needed some images that could convey just the images on like a high level of the visualization. And so these are some of the images that I thought of. Shot Tracker is sports and tech. And so some of these images resonated with me, of just to show the director that I'm in the ballpark with some of the visualization, right? And so we've got this overhead. There's a shot in the treatment for Shot Tracker that they're like basketball players and they're moving around, and there's like graphic overlays and like motion tracked animation tracking the players. And so this was a good way to illustrate that, kind of some of the vibes that I want. But like I said, you know, I never aim to bite anybody's style. Like, I pride myself on bringing something fresh to the projects I work on. And so, but once again, this is just a way to show the director that, hey, I'm in the ballpark. This is the type of tone we're going for. Of course, we're going to make it our own. But like I said, when it comes to commercials, guys, there's nothing new under the sun. You know, I mean, there's millions and millions of commercials happening every single day. There's nothing new under the sun, but you do your best as a cinematographer to make something your own. But these are some of the images I pulled. And then here, the editing pacing references of some pieces that I thought were in the same vein in terms of how quickly the camera moves and like how I envision, you know, the moments lasting on camera. And so these are some references that I put together. So they're seeing, okay, this is a cinematographer who's thinking about editorial. That's really important, guys. We can't think in a vacuum as cinematographers. Everything that we shoot is going to the edit. And so I think it's really important to show a producer, show an agency that you're thinking of how it's going to come out in the box. Not just, oh, how is the shot going to look on set? It's like, this is everything we shoot goes to an edit. And so I find it really beneficial to have references in terms of edit and pacing. So you're thinking about how long your shots are lasting. How long is this moment in the storyboard lasting? And so that's why I put this here. So preliminary lighting ideas. This is a really, really important part. When you put together, this is something I've come to find, when you put together these lookbooks, you send it to the director and the producer, whoever is the contact that touch base with you. But oftentimes they share this, sometimes with the rest of the agency, sometimes with the creative director, sometimes with the client. And this is really, really important because you never know who is getting this. Like I said, you send it to 2 people, it'll probably end up in the hands of 7 creatives who are looking at this. And so preliminary lighting ideas, budget pending. And so this is where it's important to make these ideas and these figurative ideas that directors and producers and agencies have. This is where we start to make it tangible and show that, hey, I'm thinking about this at a grassroots, real tangible level very, very early in the process. And this shows investment. And this is what directors like to see. This is what producers like to see. Somebody who's thinking about making this stuff tangible already. All this stuff is nice, but it's not very tangible, right? It just shows that, hey, some of the visualization, we're on the same page. And this is where it starts to get tangible. So preliminary lighting ideas. This piece takes place in 2 different overall looks. We have actual gameplay, that's one look, and then a scrimmage. And so they wanted to create 2 different worlds. And so these are just some of the preliminary lighting ideas I had. Like I said, budget pending. They start talking about numbers. That determines the lighting package me and my gaffer select. And so interactive lighting, camera flashes during gameplay, spotlight swinging, and background on crowd. You know, it's actual gameplay. There's media on the sides, the camera's flashing. And so that's something that we would emulate through interactive lighting. Soft top light with hard backlight for actual gameplay. Once again, just kind of talking through some of the overall broad strokes of our lighting scheme. Practicals in the background of actual games, small sources to feel like stadium, truss lighting. So once again, you know, talking about this on a tangible, real level, what is this thing going to look like? Talking about maybe some of the units I'm working with, you know, practicals, top light, like these are buzzwords that they want to hear to show that you're thinking about how this thing is actually going to look and how you're going to execute. More expressive lighting during actual gameplay, maybe explore brand color palette. When you look at a real basketball game, there's not typically color lighting hitting fans and stuff like that. The thing about my style is I'm very expressive. I like to bend reality a little bit. You know, I definitely shoot a lot of naturalistic stuff too, but just my stylings and overall taste, I like to bend reality sometimes. You know, that's just kind of how I like to rock. If a director works with me, they know that's my style, and that's why they're calling me. And so, I think somebody's got their mic on. It's kind of okay. Thank you. I think they muted it. Okay, so more, like I said, more expressive lighting during gameplay. Maybe explore brand color palette. I talked about we'll need big, strong sources to capture slow-mo without relighting. Spoiler alert, we've got 4 6K space lights happening to light our court. And I do this for a few reasons. I'm kind of drifting off into more of the tech reason why I chose this, but this lets the producer know that, hey, we're going to need big lights to pull this off without a big relight. And so we've got those sources because you can always turn lights on. It's adding lights that takes more time. And when it comes to spending time versus spending money, a lot of times agencies that you work with would opt to spend a little more money and save time on set. That's basically just in my experience. And so we'll need big, strong sources to capture slow-mo without relighting. We're shooting 2.398 for a lot of this, but there's overcrank stuff as well. And so I figured big, soft sources would be the best course of action, and my gaffer agreed. And so top light will allow us to shoot without relighting scenes. That's, once again, they like hearing that because this right here, shoot without relighting scenes, that's music to a producer's ear. They hear that and they're like, yo, this is a DP that's thinking about saving us time. They like that. They don't want to have to sit there and wait while talent is on the sideline. It's unacceptable for you to be relighting while someone's on set. So commercials, it's really important to try to light in broad strokes. When it comes to basketball, all of the lighting is coming from overhead. You know, it's stadium lighting, it's top lighting. And so that was the motivation for this. It will allow us to light without having to relight. And so that was the first look right there where I'm just, like I said, preliminary lighting ideas. Scrimmage, more naturalistic approach during scrimmage. This particular gym has big bay windows, which are really, really nice. And so we would utilize that. We would emulate soft source. So big soft source, either top or side, depending on locations, resources. This was before I saw the location, but knowing the location now, if this was the basketball court right here, let's say this right here, this was the basketball court. On one side of it are big windows right here. And so my idea is to have soft light coming from the side and us basically boosting what's already there. It might be cool to explore day gym interior look instead of all gym lighting, depending on creative preference and location and resources. Once again, this is before I found the location. And because I said this, guys, before I said it might be cool to explore a day gym interior look, that's the location we got. We got a place with that because I planted that seed in their mind. More subdued visually, no interactive lighting to make actual gameplay really stand out. We want to juxtapose these two looks. And so that's a note right there that I included. It's kind of a given, but it's always good to communicate these to let them know that you're thinking about these ideas. And so all of that, I sent all of this by end of day. I got the treatment, and by the end of the day, they have all of these ideas. And so right off the bat, I'm a front runner for this job. You just know it. A lot of DPs aren't giving this amount of detail right away. It's in a structured doc. Like I said, it's not the prettiest doc in the world, but it's a doc. It shows that I'm making effort. It shows that I've got skin in the game already. I'm willing to take the time to put this together. They like that. That shows a new director that you haven't worked with that, hey, this guy is going to take this job seriously. This is somebody who I feel comfortable putting this project in their hands. And so these are a couple more references I found. Just to kind of show, I mean, all of this right here this is most likely balloon lighting right here. So this just kind of shows the overall top light direction that I was thinking for the piece. You see a little bit of blue light hitting the crowd. So I thought this would be a nice way to show some of the brand color hitting the crowd. It's a little bit more of an expressive look that I thought would kind of convey the type of feeling that I was going for. And also this shows the other look, the day interior look with the naturalistic lighting approach to the practice that I was thinking of. So you've got these windows right here that are essentially anchoring the look. You know, it's all being side lit. You got these nice shafts of light. They haze the room. They're probably 18Ks out the window. And so once again, it's just a way to communicate visual language to show them that I'm thinking. At the very bottom, pardon me. Thank you for the opportunity to present this mood book. I've got my name. I've got my website. Sorry, guys, it's been a long day. I've got my Vimeo, I've got my email, I've got my number. And the reason why I put all this stuff, guys, is because once again, you never know who's getting this mood book. You send it to a director and a producer, most likely it's going to hit 7 hands. There have been jobs that I've landed like 4 or 5 jobs because somebody ended up seeing a mood book that I didn't intend for them to see it. So always assume that this thing is getting passed around. People are looking at it. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it shows that, hey, this guy is thinking, this guy wants to get invested in the creative early. And so I'm going to stop screen sharing 2 seconds. Cool. And so I sent this over. Let's see. I got that job at 5. Went to the coffee shop at 5. What's up, Q? Peace, bro. What's up? What's up, Justin? Peace, bro. So I sent this, and Q, you've heard the story. You were on the last live stream. But I sent this to the director and the producer at 6:30 that night. I got off the job at 5, went to the coffee shop, took 10 minutes to get there, got my cup of coffee, threw that back real quick, put this thing together in about an hour 30 minutes. And I got an email from the producer within an hour saying, hey, the director hired you. He loved the mood book. You know what I mean? And so, and here's the thing. Once again, it's not the prettiest mood book in the world. You know, I usually take more time and, you know, but once again, it shows right away that this dude has skin in the game. He wants to be a part of this thing. He's enthusiastic. It's all about the message that you're sending. And that's a big part of your brand as a cinematographer. Is this dude willing to put in a little extra work? I wasn't paid to put together that mood book. I wasn't sure I was getting the job, but it shows right off the bat that this dude's invested. And that's the person that they want to put the job in your hands. I get a lot of jobs like this just by showing, hey, I'm interested. And here's the thing. If it's not for me, my admin, I'll just tell her, hey, I'm not interested in the job. You know what I mean? And she'll take care of letting them know that Cooper can't take the job, or, you know, he doesn't think he'd be a good fit for this. But if I'm interested in the job and I want that job, I'm putting together that thing as quickly as possible. I'm looking at the treatment very, very quickly. I'm examining it and jotting all these ideas down. I'm hitting the internet. I'm finding the references I need to put together to communicate my visual ideas. Every job is different, and so the references are different depending on what the creative calls for. But in that particular instance, it was hoops. You know, I'm a hooper, and so I kind of know where to look. You know what I mean? And so I put that thing together, and I booked the job, and I shoot it. And a week from today, I'll be on set shooting that. And so once again, that's a big part of the process, is just showing that you're interested. Imagine if I would have come across and I just sent a quick little email. Hey, what's up, Chris? Looks like a cool project. Yeah, man, I think we might be able to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and yada, yada, yada. Like, nah, it's like tangible. How are we going to make this tangible? It's our job to make it as cinematographers, directors, agencies. They get to be figurative and be like, yo, it's going to kind of feel like this and that, but it's us. Ultimately, it falls on our shoulders to make it tangible. And so we have to deliver tangible assets. It doesn't take a lot of time. 90 minutes landed me a really big job. You know what I mean? So just something to think about when you do it. It doesn't have to be Cinema 4D when communicating visual ideas. You know, it doesn't have to, I didn't have to deliver this huge 3D lighting render. They don't expect that. What they do, well, not necessarily expect all the time, but something that'll make them very happy is seeing tangible materials. And that quick 4-page mood book landed me a big job. I've gotten a lot of other jobs by doing the exact same thing. It works. And it's something that I would definitely advise you to think about when your process, when a job comes across your desk and it's perspective and they're not 100% sure. Here's the thing. There's some directors I work with who, you know, right off the bat, they just say, hey, Coop, you're right for this. We have a rapport. And I don't necessarily, I can kind of expedite some of those things. But if you're working with a new director, it's very important to share your ideas very, very quickly. Don't even give him a chance to look into another DP. Don't give him a chance. You know what I mean? Right away, get on it, share your visual ideas, and land that job. So, Alec, you asked, how do you go about gathering reference frames? Do you have an expansive library, or you just pull some off Vimeo on a job-by-job basis? Yo, funny enough, man, oh my goodness. So both. I actually have a huge library of visual references. And like it random, bro. So I've got like Night Bar Interior, and I've got like 30 different references from different films, Vimeo. What I did one day is I had a few interns of mine scour the internet for different looks. And so I said, bar interior, I need Night Bar Interior, give me diverse looks. And so boom, they're going down, they're pulling all these stills from Netflix, Vimeo, YouTube, wherever they can find it. So you got this hodgepodge of different looks, just some stuff that I can pull quickly. And sometimes it's good food. Like I said, I never aim to emulate different people's looks. But one thing that something can do, you never know how a frame can resonate and give you some ideas in terms of maybe framing. It's not necessarily lighting, but sometimes framing. You know, where did they place their subject in this bar? All of those things are reasons why good references are really, really important. It's not to bite, and you want to develop your own style. It's not about that. And every location's different. All the creative's different. Your talent looks different. So you couldn't emulate those things if you tried. But I think it's really important to stay original. But at the same time, like I said, especially for commercials, nothing new is under the sun. So yeah, develop a library. If you've got an intern or something like that, or you've got some free time one day, go online. Hey, Night Bar Interior. I'm going to find 10 to 15 different references and I've got a folder. I've got it on every single one of my computers. It's on my Google Drive, and I've got it ready at a moment's notice, because you never know when you might need them things quickly. So very, very good question. Do you guys have any questions about that mood book, or any other questions about, you know, kind of first steps when a job comes across the desk? I mean, I feel like I explained it somewhat in depth, but do you have any specific questions regarding that before I kind of move on? Feel free to jump on the mic if you want. What's up, Justin?
What's going on, bro?
Nothing much, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Just chilling at the house, learning.
Awesome, bro. Awesome. Cool. So, cool. Any questions, guys?
Yeah, just wanted to share, you know, from the live stream the other day where you talked about the mood book. That inspired me, and I knew I had this meeting coming up today. There's a guy who, these guys, they were like, you know, former drug dealers back in the day. There was a documentary made about them in the 90s, and now they're looking to make like some type of like web series or something about them. And so I had this meeting coming up, and you actually inspired me. I said, and you know what, I don't know how to really create a mood book. I couldn't even remember the name of it, honestly, but I just remembered, you know, your talk, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to show a little bit of effort. And so I just put together like a quick like project scope, and you know, just the ideas, the different phases of production, and then you know, I took some stills, you know, just from different movies of the type of look that I said, you know, I want to try to go for, and the guy seemed really impressed, you know, so he's going to talk to his investor, and you know, we'll see what happens from here.
That's awesome, bro. I'm really, really happy to hear that. And like I said, guys, like, you know, the whole point. I'm not saying you guys together anything exactly like I do. All I ask of you is that if you show that effort on the front end, I promise you doors will open. Especially everybody here on the stream, and a lot of my patrons are really young. We're young people. We work in an agency full of typically the people calling the shots, the people writing the checks are mid-30s, 40s, 50s, you know, and so they're looking at young people and they're thinking, do they have their stuff together? Do I want to put, you know, $100,000 project in this 26-year-old DP's hands? I want to do that, you know what I mean? And like the director's thinking, like, is this guy a high risk DP? Like, is he going to just try to wing it and hack this job away? And so as young people, we have to show that we're more than ready, because the other DPs in town that this guy was looking at, they were all 40 plus, right? And so they've got 15 plus years of experience on me, right? And so my way of circumventing that is showing that, oh, I'm more than ready. Like, I'm ready. I'm ready right off top. Like, I'm going to be sharing ideas right away. I'm going to be communicating quicker. You have to do things that make you stand out. Yes, it is about your body of work. That's important, but it's more than that too. It's how quickly you respond, how quickly you can communicate your visual ideas. All of that factors into your brand to where, you know, they hire Q for something. They hire Maya for something. You know, they hire Jeremiah for something. They know, yo, this is somebody who I know they're going to be ready. They're going to show up and they're going to be more ready than anyone. And it's funny how you step on set and everybody's looking to you because now just seeing right off the bat, you set the tone. They know this person's ready. They are engaged with the creative. They're more willing to accept your ideas right away because you've put some skin in the game at that point. If you don't put skin in the game, if everything is figurative, it's like, you're just filling in a spot. You're not adding value. You got to add value. A way to add value is to share tangible ideas. And so that's a really good way to set the tone. And because of that, you know, this agency, this director now, we've got a really good rapport. The shoot's going to be great next week. We're ready. And it all came from that's literally how I landed that job. So it's a really, really tangible way to get jobs quickly. And also, furthermore, from a utility aspect, we have a jumping off point now. And so it serves two purposes. One, it landed me the job. It showed that, hey, I'm interested. And two, it's really my reference. Like, that's a tangible reference that we've used, and we've been able to say, oh, cool. We've got a tangible document to share ideas. It's real. Like, it's not figurative. It's not just a quick body email. It's a real tangible document that we can work off of, and we have worked off of it. And from there, we've worked off it and made it our own, create our own ideas and shaped it into something completely fresh, completely different. But it all started with that doc, right? And so huge part of my pre-production process, especially with commercials, I always put that together for my directors. Even if it's something I shoot and direct, I still put it together because, once again, from the utility aspect, it's still something I can use as a jumping off point. It's on paper. We have to get our ideas out of our mind and onto paper somehow, into a document, into something tangible to share our ideas. So furthermore, you know, communicating with the gaffer, that's something I'm going to talk about in the next live stream, is lighting renders and how I put those together, why I put them together, other ways to communicate with your crew. But I feel like this was a good starting point to just show you how to get through the door on certain jobs when a director doesn't know you. They like your work. Yeah, they liked my work, but how does this guy work? Like, he's got to produce my project. Like, I'm not going to air his last commercial. I'm trying to air my own commercial. How's he, you know, what's he going to bring to the table on my project, right? And so, anyway, that's my approach, guys. Yeah, do you have any more questions about that? How far in the process do you start to know your budget so you can start planning your scope and solutions?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to ask about the budget and when do you find out the budget and when do you start planning your production around that budget, and maybe even how do you get around not having a large enough budget, because that's a big thing I run into here is not a lot of people have a budget.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very good question. And so right off the bat, and this is a producer I'd done stuff before, and so that was good, you know. So I kind of had a champion in a sense, but I hadn't worked with him for a minute. He was off doing a feature somewhere, and so it's been a while since I worked with this guy. But he had like kind of a ballpark. But here's the thing: if somebody says, "Yo, this is a $100,000 commercial," you don't know where those funds are allocated until you get the job, right? And so they're not saying right off the bat, you know, you've got $10K for a lighting package. You know, in terms of crew, like we have enough for 2 and 2 or 3 and 3 or whatever. And so here's typically how I approach that. And so I landed the job. That was a Friday. And so the producers say, yeah, we'll talk numbers on Monday. And so we hopped on a conference call. him and the agency. I was just talking about my ideas. And, you know, by that time, once again, I'm coming prepared. I had a lighting package already in mind based off the boards. And I said, hey, here, and one more thing before we go into that, guys, every light that you pull out is attached to a number. The way producers make money is profit margins. And so say they got 100K or whatever for a project or whatever, and they get the job done and execute for 90, that 10,000 that's in the budget, that's profit, right? And so they're trying to, everything you do, and that's why lighting renders and pre-visualization are so important, because that's what essentially justifies the cost of certain things. You can't just say, oh, I need the 3K lighting truck. They're gonna be like, huh, what lights are you pulling off the truck? Why do you need a 3K lighting package? Like, but if you have renders, if you have pre-visualization, they know exactly why, right? And so that's how you get budgets approved for lighting and stuff like that. And so I came in with the plan and I said, hey, here's my plan. I'm gonna need 4 6K space lights. I'm gonna need 2 M18s. I'm gonna need an 800 LECO. I'm gonna need a 400 LECO, 3 Geminis, 2 Astras, and a 2-ton grit package. And at that point, there's kind of where the negotiation starts, where they're like, ooh, I think sometimes they're like, could we make a concession here? Could we lose a space light here? We might need an extra generator because the gym is old or blah, blah, blah. You never know what the factor is. Every job is different. But I typically like to be on the front end of that. I don't like to wait. You know, if they're calling me, they probably got some money. I'm just going to be honest with you. Especially at a certain level, they know it's going to cost some money to make the art that you need to make and to serve the creative. And so I came for it. I said, yo, this is what I need. I'm talking to my gaffer ahead of the time. I'm like, hey, roughly, what do you think this package will cost? And so I come to them with a solution. At that point, it's up to them to say, hey, we can do it, or we might need to scale back. And I tell them, hey, just to let you know, it's like, if we have to scale back, here's the concessions we're going to need to make. So if I can't get the 6K space lights, I get 2K space lights. I might need to take more time to light locally in order for those slow-mo shots. But if you want to save time, and so you come with options as well. Once again, you're ahead of the game. Like, you have an answer for everything. You're showing that you're fully invested. And on this particular, I said, hey, here's what I need. Boom, 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 boom. And they said, no problem. You know, it wasn't a problem at all. And that was that. So what's up, Colin?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing, bro?
Doing great, man.
Cool. So we just kind of went over some of the preliminary aspects of when a job comes across my desk, the way I act, the way I react to that, and just some of my first steps. And so you can catch that. This whole thing's being recorded, so you can catch the first part of it or whatever. So anyway, does that answer your question in a sense, Jeremiah? Like, there is that negotiation aspect of, hey, Cooper, where they'll tell me a hard number of like, hey, we have 10K for lighting. Oftentimes they'll ask, what do you want first? Based off the creative and the boards. I tell them I want to execute the job. And at that point, if it's too much, they'll say, they'll drop the number and say, hey, we got to work within this. But I try to be and say, yo, like, I try to pretend we have a blank check and just say, in a perfect world, here's what I want. It's up to you to say yes or no. Right.
That's what's associated with you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we got to scale it back. Okay, but here's what I want in a perfect world to execute the project. This is fair. All of this gear, like, I've got a render. Here's the render. Here's where every light's going. I've communicated this information to my gaffer and key grip. They feel like we can execute this with 2 and 2 in one pre-light day. Yes or no? Tell me what's up. And usually if you come together with a plan, you show them you have your stuff together, you're fine, and it's going to get approved. And so is that helpful at all? I mean, I can go further in depth if you have anything more specific, or maybe a specific situation.
No, I think it was that definitely makes sense in the agency side of things is, you know, where I definitely want to end up heading. A lot of our problems right now is where we're, you know, it's producer, director, and, you know, the whole production company part. But I think that's, you know, as I move towards the agency side of things, that's definitely helpful with making sure that, you know, they know upfront, you know, what's it going to be and what's associated with the images that you're making.
Yeah, for sure, man. I always say, man, like, in everybody's financial situation is different. When you're starting out, it's tough because you got to put food on the table, and I get that. And so you've got to sometimes make concessions, and you're kind of, you know, you've got to make more sacrifices in order for the production to be successful. But, you know, guys, I feel like you hit a certain point where, like, you've got to really think about the type of clients you want to work with. I mean, do you want to work with the clients who you feel choked every shoot, and you know, like, They're going to try to get it done for the least amount. I always say it's important to try to find the shoots and the projects and the clients where you can generate work that it's investment work. There's equity in the work. So it's more than just a job cutting a check. It's stuff that is going to get you more work. And that's because the project's really, really good. The creative's really, really strong, and you were able to incorporate really cool visualization of the project. And so if all you gain from it is a check, you've got to ask yourself at a certain point, in order to gain more work and develop your body of work, unless you're shooting really banging spec work on the side, you've got to eventually pick good projects too. I'm not the DP for every director, every production. I don't take on 80 to 85% of the jobs that come across my desk. Either the budget isn't there, the creative doesn't resonate with me. And so I tell my admin, I said, you know, I'm going to pass on this one. Just let them know that I can't do it, or, you know, I don't feel like I'd be a good fit for the project. And that's okay, guys. Like, it's okay to not take on every single job. I would rather take on, you know, 3 really, really good jobs a month than try to bang out 10 to 15. And, you know, I have no bandwidth to really give the time this job needs or this job needs. And so eventually you come to a certain point where I feel like it's kind of like baseball, right? And so when you're playing baseball or like major leagues, there's 162 games, right? And so you know, that's a lot of games. That's a lot of at-bats and stuff like that. But yo, NFL, there's 16 games. Every game matters more. And you notice so per game, these players are making so much more than the guys making playing 162 games. And so I think as your career grows and expands, it kind of goes from MLB to NFL in terms of the amount of jobs you're taking. And so just kind of keep that in mind, man. It's like, you know, if I tell a producer that, hey, here's what I need to get this done, and they're like trying to haggle and go back and forth too much, I just say, hey, you know, and it never in a personal way, because, you know, it's not personal, it's business. But I just tell them, hey, I'm probably not the right DP for this project. And that's okay. You know, trust me, and you guys, we all know, we're at no shortage of DPs in this world. You could throw a rock ahead of DP. It's like, not whatever, you know. And so, like, it's never personal, but I just say, yo, I'm not the DP for this job. Like, if there's no equity for it and it's just a check, it's like, at this point, what are we doing here? Like, it's about growth. It's about pushing ourselves creatively. And if I'm not able to express in that way, or I feel like I'm going to have to make too many concessions and the project won't be successful, I'm not the right DP for the project. And so I think from a standpoint, man, you've got to be ready to lose business too, in a way, and say, hey, I'm not the guy for this job. And that's okay. You know, there's somebody out there who can serve this creative, who maybe is willing to make those sacrifices and do more for less. I'm willing to make sacrifices. You got to make compromises on certain things. But if it goes too far and it's just a check and the project isn't successful, and the creative isn't strong, the project doesn't resonate, it's just a check. There's nothing, you gain nothing from it career-wise other than a check. And so anyway, that's just something to think about. I know I kind of trailed off into a long answer. That's just something to think about as your career goes. Everybody in this group is young. And with that, it's like you'll hit that certain point where you kind of spinning your wheels. And I hit that point where I was like, I'm tired of doing more jobs, and it's more utility jobs and just paying my rent. It's like eventually you get to the point where it's like, I want to be a part of projects that are highly successful and are going to be projects with equity and something that's going to help my career grow and challenge me creatively. And if it doesn't give me that, if it's just a check, then it's like eventually you get to the point where, do you want your career to grow or not, right? So anyway, that's a long-winded answer. Did I trail off too much? You could be honest with me.
No, you're good, man. You're good. It's okay. I get it. ABC clients, you know?
Oh man. So anyway, just something to think about.
I wanted to kind of follow up with the kind of his initial budget question.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to be too personal. You know, don't reveal what you don't want to reveal. But when it comes to kind of charging a budget, right? Like I have a friend who owns like a production house, and he was telling me, he was like, aside from like charging for your like time and things like that, he's like, you know, when you own equipment, he also like will charge for the equipment per day, like for everything. You know what I mean? Like, is that structure that you kind of follow, where like you'll maybe charge for each piece of gear that's needed for that day, however many days, as well as, you know, the time, and, you know, would you break that down a little bit for us? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I do own kit. A lot of the commercials, especially the ones it depends on where I'm at. If I'm in LA, more often than not, it's can you guys hear me okay? For some reason, I'm break up.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
It's just when your mic's on, it just gets the feedback. Q.
Oh, okay. Hey, Q, do you mind? Okay, thanks, bro. No worries. And so I do own kit. So it really depends on where I'm shooting the commercial, right? I'll break this down. And so if I'm shooting a commercial in Kansas City, Missouri, it's usually a red show. For some reason, depending on the market you're at, agencies, they kind of get stuck. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know. I think everybody here's from different places, but some towns, depending on where you're at, they're used to different kit. They're used to different cameras being on set. Kansas City, I'll talk about Kansas City because the Shot Tracker shows in Kansas City. It's a red show. And so I know that they're going to want red. And I own 2 reds. I own the Epic W and I own the Scarlet W. And so when I give them my rate, here's my rate plus my camera rental, yes, that does come on board. So I accrue that rental as well, which is a really, really good way to make money. In terms of owning gear, there's pluses and minuses. That is a really good benefit of owning gear, is that you can bring that on and you're getting the rental money to rent your gear to the production. And so it's a really nice thing because you make a really good day rate plus the rental. It's really, really nice. Other pieces of gear that I rent out, all my small HD monitors and Teradek, I typically rent that to the production as well. Really, really good way to make money. And so, yes, you get your rate plus the camera rental, plus any other things, you a la carte it. And it depends. Sometimes the producer's like, hey, Cooper, on this particular show, we need these tools. And this is where you kind of make the concessions and sacrifices. And it's kind of a good bargaining chip. Not, I'm not trying to make it sound like you're in any sort of way being manipulative. It has nothing to do with that. But it shows a producer that, hey, I'm willing to bend a little bit in this area. Like one hand washes the other or whatever. It's business at the end of the day. And so they're like, hey, Cooper, could you comp us the Teradek for this show or whatever, your Teradek system or your 17-inch monitor, Q comp us a few things to make place for some of the production design elements we need. Those came out a little high. Are you willing to comp anything? I'll say, sure. Yeah, I'll throw in the Teradek. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Just take care of me on the camera rental and we're good. You see what I'm saying? So that's another nice thing about owning gear is, you can kind of leverage some of those aspects with these people. Let me put it this way, producers and agencies, they're thinking about their bottom line. You've got to take care of yourself in those scenarios. But you can use those situations to say, yeah, sure. Like I'll throw you a bone here. Just get my back next time. And so in the future, you can say, hey, I'm going to need that. I'm going to need an extra 6K space light, figure it out, shave something down in another department because I need this. I really believe in this light for the show. Can we make it work? And they'll say, okay, cool. Like that's how you build up goodwill. You know what I mean? I talked about this in the last one. So Q, did that answer your question before I trail off into a story that I gave on the last live stream that I feel like is relevant?
Yeah, no, you did, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. It's a nice way to make some extra money, man. And after a while, I mean, for example, like all my reds and stuff like that, just due to productions, they've paid themselves off. And so that's really nice. At this point, all of the extra money they make, it's profit, right? And so I think it's a good idea if you're considering going down that route. Yes, it's a sizable investment to buy these cameras, high-end cameras. But I think ultimately, for me at least, it's worth it. Everybody's situation is different. But yes, you can make a lot of money through rental on commercials. And so for just kind of drifting off into something completely left field, before I do that, what's up, Paul? Appreciate you tuning in, bro. I don't know if you're on the mic or not, but just want to say hello. Thanks for tuning in, bro. We got about 15 more minutes on this stream. Before I drift off in the story that I feel like is relevant to this conversation, do you guys have any more questions? I think that's a really good question, Q. You can ask me anything. That's what this is for. And so just ask me whatever, and I'd be willing to answer it. Don't get Q in the future. You don't have to be worried about asking questions like that, man. I mean, that's what this whole Patreon group is for, is it's curated, and everybody here, like, I want to share I want to share literally everything I know. Like, that's my whole goal with this thing. I'm not hiding any secrets or anything like that. If you have a question, I'll answer it. And if I'm not answering it correctly, tell me so, and I'll find a way to answer it correctly. And if I don't know, I'll just tell you I don't know. And so do you guys have any questions before I kind of dive into this last point? Okay, cool. And so kind of going back to the the goodwill thing that I told you about with producers, where sometimes they'll say, hey, can you work with me here? Like, can we give you 3/4 of your camera rate or whatever for the show? So we have to do this. And you find that a lot. Every production's different. There's some shows I take on because I love the creative, but the budget isn't crazy. You know what I mean? I'll say, hey, like, I feel like this is a project with equity. I'm getting something out of this more than just the check. That's fine. Like, I'm willing to make some of those concessions. Not every job is just like $100,000 job or a $200,000 commercial. Not every job is like that. Some jobs are less. And you have to make more concessions in order to do it. And so it's your job. It's your choice to say, hey, it's not worth the time and effort to try to make it work. And some, if the creative's really strong and the budget's just not there, but you feel like you can execute it and it's project with equity, you're like, yeah. And so with that, it kind of goes in the whole thing. And Q, I don't know, you probably remember this. Maya, you probably remember this. Alec, I think you were on the stream as well last time where I talked about the reservoir of goodwill and why that's really important. We got to talking a little bit of your brand as a cinematographer. Your brand, yes, it has to do with the work that you put out, the frames that you produce, what you put on screen. It's a huge part to do with your brand. But furthermore, it's how you communicate. It's your attitude. It's how you communicate with, like, all of those aspects are a part of your brand. And funny enough, beyond a certain point, I think it maybe in some ways has more to do than your frames, because you wouldn't have gotten the call if they didn't like the product you put on screen. You wouldn't have gotten the call in the first place. And so beyond that, all that really matters is this guy likable? Is this guy somebody we can bring around the agency that we're working with? Is this someone who our talent's comfortable around? Is this someone who is fair, is honest, delivers, is prepared? Like, that is your brand. It gets beyond just the art. There are a lot of really, really young, talented people out there who have A7S2s who are shooting really, really dope stuff. But when it comes to the business side of it and how they conduct themselves on set, how they lead a crew, how efficient they are, how they handle budgets, do they get the job done? Like, that is your brand, right? And so here's the thing, guys. There's this thing. Are any familiar with the concept of the reservoir of goodwill? You can leave it in the comment. I'm really curious if any of you guys, I think Alec, maybe you said you knew about that. Okay. You can be audible if you want. You can turn your mic. I'm just really curious if any of you guys know about it.
Never heard of it.
Justin, you've heard of it? Have you ever heard of it? No? Priscilla, have you heard it? Paul, Colin, any of you guys familiar with that concept? You've heard of it? Briefly, okay. And so kind of the way I really, really think about that in terms of our brand as cinematographers, I feel like in a lot of ways we have the most volatile job on set in terms of things that could potentially go wrong. If you really, really think about it, like, the director's seat is a hot seat. Don't get me wrong. A director's seat is a hot seat. It's a very, very hot seat. But when it comes to on set, getting stuff done, it gets real as a cinematographer. I mean, when you're throwing a curveball and you've got to produce great frames very, very quickly under high pressure, mistakes can happen. A crew might drop a light. I mean, there's just so many things that can happen, like so many crazy things that can happen, right? And so it's really important to establish a reservoir of goodwill. And so what I mean by that, it's something that they cite a lot in PR when they're training publicists and public relations folk or whatever. There was an incident that took place. I might butcher this story, but you'll get the point. With Johnson & Johnson pharmaceuticals or whatever, and they were putting pills on the counter, right? I think this was in the 80s or whatever. And so they had these pills that they were putting on the counter or putting on shelves, and the boxes weren't sealed. And also the pills, like the bottles themselves, weren't sealed. You just open them. Anyone could just walk in, open these things. Like, there's no safety precautions at all. There were no safety tape. There were no, like how you have to push down and turn. There were no safety precautions at all for these things. I feel like that's kind of like everything back then. They just, smoking cigs or whatever in hospitals. It's crazy. It's madness. And so anyway, it was the wild, wild west with pharmaceuticals. They were doing whatever. There was no safety guards at all. People were wilding out. And so some crazy dude, some sociopath, decided to open up bottles, I think in a Chicago pharmacy, and he went in there and put cyanide pills in these bottles. And I think like 7 people died, right? He put these cyanide pills in all these bottles, and terrible, right? And so the whole world was looking at Johnson & Johnson like, how are they going to respond to this? Something really bad happened. How are they going to respond to it? And they could have done 2 things. Johnson & Johnson could be like, let's let this die down. You know, it'll pass. This too shall pass, whatever. Let's not take action. Let's just see what happens. They could have, you know, whatever. They could have done the irresponsible thing and just not done anything, right? They decided to take every Johnson & Johnson pill off the shelf in the entire world. Millions and millions of dollars lost in order to make a point, in order to make things safe, because 7 deaths was 7 too many. It happened in one place, in one city, in one town, in one store. But that was enough for them to take sweeping action in order to make it right. And so they were the forefront that in the following months that preceded, they took all of these steps to shore up their safety procedures. We can make sure we have to make sure this never happens again. Something is wrong. Like, there was a glitch in the matrix. We have to make this right. And so they owned the mistake and made it right. And not only did they make it right and implement all these safety procedures, they shared that information with their competition. And so they place themselves at the forefront of safety for their industry, right? And because of that, their reservoir of goodwill was so high at that point, because something went wrong and they stood up and they were fair about it. And they said, we made a mistake. We're going to make it right. And the rest is history. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. They came out looking so great from a really tragic situation because they did the right thing. And they showed that they were fair and honest. And that's their brand. That's how their brand became known. Imagine if they would have done the opposite, like how history would have looked at them, right? I really feel like in a lot of ways, it's the same thing as cinematographers. We have a volatile job. A lot can go wrong. We get thrown a curveball. All of a sudden, something doesn't work. I've had situations where, $20,000 lighting packages that I drew on renders, I put on paper, and my gaffer and I've talked about it. We get the lights up, and the agency isn't happy with the look. And it sucks. And it's like, you're put on the spot. You look bad because you're the person that drew up this render. You're the person that led the situation, and I've got to make it right. And so in those situations, it's really important to develop a reservoir of goodwill of somebody who they know, hey, Cooper's solid, 9.9999 times out of 10, he's going to deliver. Something is going to go wrong at some point. And at that point, you've got to ask yourself, like, do I have enough skin in the game? Do I have a reservoir of goodwill to where I'm going to get called back? Or is my name going to be dragged through the mud as somebody who really effed this job up? You know what I mean? And because there's going to be those times where it happens. And so I've had shoots where I've had to donate my time in order to give a reshoot, because a plan didn't work out or something like that, or I got thrown a curveball, or sometimes it's stuff that's out of your control. Talent gets sick or whatever. At that point, production's like, hey, I know talent got sick and that we can do the second half of the day. We don't have money to pay you for an extra day. Always say yes, because when you say yes, you develop that reservoir of goodwill. They know, Q is solid. Like, Q showed up. Priscilla, she gave me that day when I needed it. That's how you develop a reservoir of goodwill. You've got to give in order to show that, hey, I'm invested. And they won't forget that. You'll get that call. And so, like I said, that little stuff that seems little in the moment is a huge part of your brand. It's not just about the work you put on screen. It's someone who is solid. It's someone that directors and agencies, do they trust you? Like, we can't overlook those things. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in lighting and camera. Yes, that's important.
Himself every time he goes to comes.
But beyond that, guys, like, it's really, really important to not overlook those intangibles, like your character. That's something that's a part of your brand. So embrace that side of yourself, like somebody who's positive, somebody who brings good energy to set. Like, don't overlook those types of things. Sometimes we get so caught up in the tech that we forget just to be good humans. And because it's a stressful job, and sometimes it's hard to be a positive human. It really is. There's some days where I'm just like, I'm over this, man. But like, even on those are the days specifically, you got to show up to set with a smile on your face. And if something goes wrong, you stand up for it and say, okay, like, I'm invested in this thing. What do we got to do to get the job done? And it always comes full circle, guys. It's always worth it to give. Give more than you receive in this, and just in life in general, guys. Like, it makes for a happier life. I mean, at the end of the day, we're making movies, right? I mean, it's not a bad job. So, I mean, you got to give an extra day to a show. Okay. All right, go ahead. Like, do I need to give a pterodactyl to this job to make it work and keep people happy? Okay, that's fine. Like, the day rate's great. I'm getting a camera rental, sure. Like, I'll throw you a bone. I'm happy to do it because it develops that reservoir of goodwill. Because when shit hits the fan, pardon my language, and you need that goodwill and you need that forgiveness or like a little bit of flexibility on that side, you've got the reservoir. It's there and it's established. So just something to think about, guys. I know it's kind of a long, drawn out thing, but I feel like it's important. It's something that I had to learn. That's way more than just the images you put on screen. It's your character. It's what you bring to the table as a person. That's a huge part of your brand and something that people ultimately remember. There are a lot of a-holes in our industry who feel entitled and it's all about them and stuff like that. Yo, that's not a fulfilling. I mean, it's such a great job. I come from Grandview, Missouri. I come from a 500 square foot apartment, yo. I ain't going back to Grandview. Period, yo. I feel very blessed, yo. Like we work in a really, really great field. So it's important to keep perspective. It's always good to give a little something. So we got a few more minutes. You guys have any more questions? Sorry for the long drawn out story, but I thought it was a way to kind of make a point.
Oh yeah, going back to what you said, like about the reservoir, I interviewed like some writers for some shows out here in LA, and they were saying they get hired based off of just people wanting to just be around them every day for 3 weeks for 12 hours a day. Like they all said it over and over again. So like it's true what you're saying about like say yes sometimes to things you might not want to because people will take that and you know that they know you're a solid guy. They'll think of you first before they think anybody else. They just want to genuinely be around you because they know you're a solid person.
That's so true, man. I mean, it's so true. You know, and kind of to add on to that point, Justin, is like another thing that's really, really important is they want somebody who's very stable in terms of how they communicate. And so somebody who doesn't get too high or get too low, that's really, really, really important. I always say that, like, you know, keep the same energy. That's really what I mean by as a cinematographer, yo. Like, they want someone who is, when stuff hits the fan and there's pressure, even killed. Like, they know he's not gonna get freaked out or whatever and get overly and, you know, start screaming at his crew, whatever. It's like, nope, same energy. You know, win, lose, or draw, same energy. And something I gotta remember in certain situations, we're not doing heart surgery. I mean, yo, like, we're not doing heart surgery. We're pointing the camera at stuff. So, like, once again, I think perspective is really important. And it's so true, Justin. It's like people want to work with people they like. They want to work with somebody who they trust, someone that puts them at ease. All that stuff is really, really important. So it's true, man. It's true. I think of the same thing with crew. If I've got to choose between, I don't know if any of y'all play 2K. I love 2K. I don't play it much anymore, but I used to play a lot growing up, and that was my game. And with 2K, you got the rating system, right? So you got like 99, that's like Bron, Steph, some of the heavy hitters, KD. And then you got like a Kristaps Porzingis or I don't know, Klay Thompson. Well, Klay Thompson, right? I'm light skinned, we'll use Klay Thompson, whatever. And so Klay Thompson, he's like a 90, right? And so say that's a first AC, you got KD is a 99, Klay Thompson's 90. I'm gonna take Klay Thompson every time if I'm looking for first ACs in terms of skill level, because I like him. Like, he would get the call because, yo, like, you're qualified, but you got those guys who are Jedis. I've worked with ACs who are, I mean, worked on very big features who aren't nice guys. They just aren't. They're not fun to be around. They just aren't cool people. And I never give them a call back. And I'd rather work my first AC, Sean Wright, great AC. He's my first call for every job, KC, LA, wherever I'm at. If I can get him on the job, he's my first call. It's because, yes, he's really good at what he does, but I like him. I like Sean. We can talk on a human level. He's got my back. I always say a good sign of a crew member is somebody who, if you've got a double back for the work, they never shame you. They never chastise you, right? And so say a plan doesn't go right. You know, I've pulled out my Alan Gordon viewfinder. I'm looking right here and say like sets 200 yards away and they've got to lug a big camera over. And for whatever base camp's back there, we forget a lens. And I say, damn it, it's not the 35, man. We need the 50. You know what I mean? I didn't pre-visualize this the way I needed to, or whatever. It's like, it just didn't look the same on screen. We got to get to 50. Instead of saying, yo, like, you've got those crew members who are like, oh, God, we got to go all the way back and get to 50. The ones I like to work with are the ones that say, Coop, I got your back. No problem, man. Like, it happens, like, we're good. And they get to work. They're there to work. They never shame you. They never chastise you. That's not a good environment to work in. And so, anyway, that's really what I think about in terms of crew. But yeah, you want to be around people you like and people you trust, people that got your back, and you got their back too. You know what I mean? If Sean's missing focus or whatever, I think I talked about this on the next play mentality or whatever. If he's missing focus, he's having a hard time on a focus pool, I'm going to encourage him. I'm going to let him know, bro, hey, you're good. Just take a deep breath. Like, relax. Do we need to set marks? Even if we've got to take a few minutes, I'll tell the director, I'll tap him and say, hey, we just got to grab marks real quick. If we can go ahead and cut. And that's a cut. First AD will yell cut. And, I'll tell talent, Sam or whatever, hey, Sam, can you step on your one real quick? And then Sean, go ahead and grab your mark. We go ahead and mark it. And then he executes focus pool. And that's it. You know what I mean? He knows I got his back, and vice versa in situations where we might have to double back on some work because I made a mistake or whatever. And so anyway, it's just something really important to think about. Characters is everything. Hey, yo, Priscilla, I know you got to hop off a call. We're going to hop off here in a minute too. But thank you for jumping on. Always good to communicate with you for sure. Alec asked quick questions after. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Alec, real quick before I answer that, Brady, was there a moment, project that you saw your career leap to where you are now, or was it gradual? There were definitely some benchmark projects that were like, okay, I'm kind of playing at a different level. I think my first 3-in-3 shoot was like a big whoa moment. And that was a Dr. Pepper shoot I did. And the size of the production and just the resources I had and the budget for the package was just like, I felt like, what is it, Home Alone, or what was the Blank Check, that film where the little kid could just get whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, I came from a T2i and a stock lens 8 years ago, so all of a sudden, like, I got this pretty big property. Yeah, Richie Rich. I felt like Richie Rich, man. It was crazy. Sitting there like, whoa, and I'm around all these vets who have been doing it longer than I've been alive, and I'm giving them instruction, so that was a really big, like, whoa moment. But at the same time, man, it's like, as big as that show was, like, there have been smaller projects where I felt in terms of creative that I felt was a career leap. So it's been funny how some smaller projects where I've really had to stretch and think outside the box have been moments where I felt the most creative growth and I felt the most fulfilled creatively. And so, yeah, man, I mean, I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in like, oh, this person's working on this size of job and all that. And it's like, I think wherever you are is where you should be, and you can always grow. And like, if you stay present in the job, I think everything can really be a growing moment if you make it that, and you say, this isn't just a shoot, it's an opportunity. No matter the size of the job, I'm going to crush this job. I'm going to give my all. Everything, like I said, it comes full circle. And so in a way, I think it's gradual, but yeah, some smart, like there's a shoot, I'm so excited to break this down, but in a week I'm releasing this project called Levitation. That it's a short film that I shot and directed for Tech9. And we did that, and the budget wasn't crazy. It was like $25K or whatever for that show. And it's a pretty, for what we did, I mean, I'm kind of surprised we could pull it off for that cost. I mean, there's a lot of resources we had to pull together. I had to make some sacrifices to get it done. Not a really big budget for how big the scope was. And just kind of after we wrapped, I'm like, wow, like really had to stretch, and we didn't have all the money in the world for it, but man, I had to stretch, and we got so much out of the performances. And I think it's one of my favorite projects that I've worked on this far. And so anyway, all that to say, it's like, I think you'd be surprised those moments where, and I'm sure you guys have felt this too, where it's like the projects where you kind of are strapped for budget, but you feel like are projects with equity are the ones you can really grow the most. And so, yeah, I feel like it's gradual, man. Just showing up every day. I tell everyone it's like attrition. Who's willing to show up every day and give their all? And you do that enough, and how could you not get better? How could you not grow creatively? And so anyway, it's kind of a long drawn out answer, but yeah. So Alec, I'll answer your question, and then maybe one more. If you guys have any more questions, I'll answer a few more. I'm really enjoying this live stream. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Quick question: after how many years concurrent jobs were you able to start investing into buying your own gear, lenses, viewfinder, camera? Man, well, I mean, there are kind of levels to it, right? And so I kind of started off buying gear with the T2i. Does everybody here own a camera? Probably everyone here owns some sort of camera. I'm seeing enough. Colin, you sound. What's your story, real quick, Colin? In between cameras, right? Oh, okay, cool. So has everyone here probably owned a camera? I'll just assume everybody at maybe one point or another has owned a camera, some sort of camera. And so with that, my first camera was the T2i. For a long time, I played the gear flip thing, where you work some gear, you get enough to sell it, buy better gear, sell it, buy better gear. And so it was a long kind of gear flip over the course of my career. Really, guys, it was one piece at a time. There was never a point where I just, invested $250,000 and just bought the lot at once. It was just piece by piece, really. And I think that's kind of the way to go. I feel like, when you're ready to buy a piece, you talk to people you trust, mentors or whatever, and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying this. I always vet everything I buy. Everything I buy has to have a recommendation. I've got to research it. I got to know it's a worthy investment. To be honest with you guys, I wasted a lot of money at the beginning of my career on bad gear. Oh my God, yo. I look back on some of the gear. Oh my God, it's embarrassing to think about. I'll leave it at that. I won't get into specifics. Yo, I invested in some whack gear. But eventually I kind of wisened up and started asking people who are working professionally what they use. But yeah, I mean, it was piece by piece. And then you get to the point where the jobs start getting bigger. Your day rate is really, really good. And at that point, you start to think about, can I take the plunge into Red? Or, some people take the plunge to Alexa. It made more sense for me to invest in 2 Red cameras because a lot of the rental I get are Reds, especially in Kansas City where I live. I do a lot of work in LA. A lot of that stuff's Alexa jobs. We rent out there, but here I can make a really good rental. And sometimes too in LA, I can make rental off, but we're at no shortage of, it's also based demographically. It's like in LA, there are no shortage of cameras. I mean, I think you can get an Epic W for $200 in LA probably. I mean, it's ridiculous. On ShareGrid, like people are giving out their cameras like candy. Hey, you want an Epic W? It's like ridiculous at the rates you can get some of these cameras, but in Kansas City, it's a little hard to find a Red. And so it's supply and demand. So it makes sense for me to own that and charge, my rental for that out here is $1,200 a day. And so that's an extra $1,200 on top of my day rate that I make in Kansas City. And so it all really depends on your market. But yeah, man, I mean, it just step by step, and you start to ask yourself, where's my career trajectory? What types of jobs I'm doing? Does it make sense to own this gear? It takes time. I stopped buying lights though. The last 2 lights I bought were my Geminis, which I love. I'm not buying any more lights. That was kind of, I don't want to say, I'll be honest, it was a little bit of an impulsive decision. I love them, but I tried these lights out and just loved them. And so I was like, let me get a few Geminis, cool. And they're nice lights, and I'll throw them on my gaffer's truck sometime if he's got a little extra room. I'll say, let's throw my Geminis on or whatever. But you get to a certain point where the packages, every show is different. You're using different lights. So it doesn't really make sense for you to buy lighting at a certain point. When you're starting out though, I think it's important to have a nice little LED kit where you can light 2D compositions, interviews and stuff like that. So anyway, all that to say, it takes time, but piece by piece is how I've bought gear. I'm at the point where I'm pretty much done buying gear. But yeah, it's nice to own. It's nice to be able to do your own projects when you want. We did room tone. I don't know if you guys have seen room tone, but we did that with all my gear and it worked out, right? And so it's nice to own gear from that standpoint. If you want to shoot your own project, shoot spec work, I think it's a worthy investment, but everybody's situation is different. So cool. I'll answer one more question if you guys have any more questions. You can jump on the mic if you want, guys. It's kind of a small group tonight.
I have a question. I'm kind of, like I mentioned, I'm kind of in between cameras right now, and I guess I guess it's just kind of like trying to figure out where to start, because there's so many ways that you could go. There's so many different cameras you can get. And so I guess, do you have any obviously like researching the crap out of whatever it is, but do you have any advice about what I don't know, I guess just I don't know, I've just found myself I have a certain amount that I know I can spend at this moment, but it may not be, like top of the line, like red or whatever. Do you have any kind of advice just for that process?
Yeah, man. What kind of shows are you working on?
Well, I just so I basically just moved from LA back to Kansas City. And I was freelancing out in LA, but now I'm back in Kansas City. And so really I'm basically starting over essentially, so not fully 100% sure, I guess, yet.
Yeah. Well, I think there are two cameras that jump to my mind that have really impressed me. Depending on the types of shows you do, if you're doing like documentary, more run and gun event stuff, and it's kind of like balancing quality versus volume shooting, which is what I like to call it. Like maybe you're doing reality, that type of stuff. I think the C300, C200 are great cameras. I mean, I really, really do. The built-in NDs, you get great images at really small file sizes. So from a utility standpoint, I think that's great for those types of projects. Pretty good price point too. Even the C100s are good cameras. And so that might be one to consider. So yeah, C300 Mark II, C300s. I think those are really dope cameras. I haven't used those in years, but they're really, really popular cameras. And I think bang for buck, they're decent. They're really, really, really decent cameras, man. So that might be something to consider for the cost. I think for me, thoughts on Blackmagic. The Ursa Mini Pro. Yeah, like, yo, in the right hands, that thing will look like Alexa footage. No one would know the difference. Like that thing, bang for buck, I think is the most dangerous camera on the market. I really, really do. Like people sleep on it. And the reason they sleep on it, and I get why they sleep on it, is because Blackmagic, they rushed the release of the 4K. They messed that up and they sent out all these lemons. And I know because I got a lemon. I got 2 lemons, as a matter of fact. And I was furious and I sent it back. I said, man, forget Blackmagic. I'm done with Blackmagic. I'm done. I said, no more. I came from the cinema camera. I came from the 245K, right? So like I was their champion. I was like, yo, come on. Like I was waiting for it or whatever. And they blew it and they finally got it right. But by the time, once again, their reservoir of goodwill was like, dun, 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 dun. So nobody rocked with them anymore. And now pros, they don't take them seriously. You know what I mean? And so agencies and the word kind of gets around, like producers, they try to be camera savvy. Oh, we don't do Blackmagic. You know what I mean? All them types of vibes come into play or whatever. And so all of a sudden, no one takes them seriously. But yo, they should take it seriously because they went into the lab, the hyperbolic chamber, and came out with a diamond. And yo, that Ursa Mini Pro is dangerous. It's a dangerous camera. It's a dangerous camera. So that might be something to consider, man. I mean, built-in NDs, beautiful skin tones. I mean, beautiful skin tones. A little side note, my vlogs, it's kind of a poor example because it's just kind of a simple talking head composition. I shoot all that with the Ursa Mini. Actually, on the Ursa Mini Pro. That's my 3rd camera. I don't pull it out for pro jobs really, but every now and then I will. I'll pull it out for a pro job. I pulled it out for actually the Evolve piece. I pulled it out for the Evolve piece because a big concern with was the locations we were at. There's a lot of dirt and stuff like that, and they were worried about liability and stuff like that. And they didn't, we had insurance for the job, but they didn't want to deal with anything if there was a claim that. So they were like, we need a low risk, low impact camera. So that's the camera I chose. And I don't know if you guys have seen the Evolve stuff. A few of those Evolve pieces, I shot the Ursa Mini Pro, and everybody thought it was an Alexa job. And so I champion the Ursa Mini Pro. That's what that's the name I'll put in the hat. If you got the budget for it, right? And that's the type of project you do, I think it's a great camera. And let me know if you do end up getting that, man. I've got a few LUTs that I can send you. I'd be happy to send you that are really, really, really good for that camera that have served me pretty well, get really good skin tones. It's a dangerous camera, man. It's kind of slept on though. So
yeah, for sure. I had the first version of the Ursa Mini, like the 4.6K. And then also I've used the C200 as well. I used to have it as well. So just trying to figure out, which way to go. So appreciate your input. Definitely.
Yeah, of course. So was the 4.6K, was it just not kind of fitting your workflow or?
Yeah. It didn't really fit in the workflow. So I ended up selling that off to get the C200. And then, had that for a while. But basically my story is I was like I said, I was in LA. working, had like a small production company with some classmates from school, you know, and ended up leaving that behind to come back to Kansas City. Why? Still trying to figure it out, I guess. I don't know. You know, but yeah, so just in between right now, you know, so.
Gotcha, man. No, that's really, yeah, I totally get it, man. And, you know, Kansas City is a good place to be if you work in LA a lot and you're connected, because there's that 3-hour flight that takes off at 6:30 a.m. every morning. It's direct. It's a great flight. And they got the one back on Sunday night at 8:30. So it's really easy to get back and forth. So I get it, man. Cost of living's great here. Your money goes further. You can actually attempt to own property.
That's true. All those were considerations, you know, as I was thinking through it. But LA's great as well. Love it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, cool, guys. This has been a lot of fun. I think before we go, something I want to do on all these live streams, I think it's just cool to hear about what everyone's up to. And so if you guys don't mind, whether you're on the mic or you want to type it in, I just kind of want to I want to be hearing what you guys are up to. The next show, if you guys just wouldn't mind just kind of let me know what you're working on. Like, I'm really, really legitimately interested in the types of shows you guys are working on. That informs some of the content that I create, knowing what you guys are working on and what's relevant for your situation. And so if you guys just, whoever wants to just jump in, and you could jump on the mic and just kind of talk a little bit about the work you do, maybe a show that's coming up. I just want to hear about it. So if you guys don't mind.
I mean, I'll go first. I got a show coming up that's like a live music show.
Nice.
We're calling it Cellar Sessions. It's like a mix between like Unplugged and, if you've seen like the old show New York Undercover, how these do the performances and Natalie's on the show, kind of a mix like that, but way more moody and cinematic. So our first show is supposed to be this September 23rd, but we just had a meeting today, and I just like when I came into the live stream, we were doing the mood book. I just sent over the mood book to our producer, so we just put that together today and sent it over. So they really loved it. So they're looking forward to us coming in on that.
Very dope, bro. I hope that goes well, man. Please follow. I'd love to just, you know, have you follow up, whether it's in the community forum or if you want to message me through Patreon. Just keep me in the loop on that, man. I really hope that goes well, bro.
Yeah, for sure. I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, drop some frames. I love seeing y'all frames. So like, you can't drop enough frames in the community forum. I love seeing the frames, what you guys are shooting, links to work. I love seeing y'all crush it. And so, you know, send stuff if you want feedback. It's been really cool. I started to see a little bit more feedback being generated amongst you guys, but I really want it to be truly a community where you guys can share your work, get honest feedback to improve. That's what it's all about. So that's dope, Justin. Anyone else? What's the next show?
Well, like I talked about last time, you know, I had a music video the other day. Unfortunately, one of the dancers got hurt during the video. Her back was like a pinched nerve or something. So we're supposed to be finishing that coming up this actually on Labor Day. And then besides that, just like I said, I had a meeting today. Hopefully something. And just before I jumped on the live stream, I was working on this edit for this this organization out of New York. They just needed me to do an edit. And I actually had a question, but you know, maybe we'll touch on this another time. But again, I'm going back to budget only because, like, you know, like I explained before, I come from the music industry, so like I'm still like learning this industry, right? So sometimes I come up with clients and I'm like, I don't really know what the standard is, you know what I mean? And sometimes I think the quickest way to show your hand, especially to like, you know, other companies, like bigger companies, is like to not know what to charge, right? Or to charge too little, right? So is there, I don't know if there's like a resource or somewhere to go online where I can kind of like see what like certain budget standards are for various scenarios when it comes to cinematography.
Oof. Yeah, that's the, I feel like that's the $1 million question, right? What to charge, when to know to charge, what amount. Yeah, man. I mean, it's when you're especially starting out, it's so tough to establish, you know, what to charge because, hey, Q, I think I'm getting a little bit of feedback if you wouldn't mind. Yeah, no worries, bro. No worries. Yeah, it's yo, guys, like that was such a hard process at first. Like thinking about it is giving me anxiety because it's so stressful. Like I don't know what to charge this person. I got to pay my rent. Is this going to be too much? Am I not going to get the job? Like all of those aspects are just kind of flooding your mind. And then I think you get to a point where it's like, what is worth my time? Do I believe in myself enough to shoot my shot and say, you know, at the time, a lot of money, I'm 500 a day. That's my rate, 500 a day. You know, and secretly, like, you're acting like, hey, like, I'm used to getting that amount, but it's like, I hope they are cool with that. I'm just being honest. I'm keeping it real. When you're starting out, it's scary. That's a scary conversation because you want the business and you got to make a living. And so I think you get to a point, man, where you kind of set benchmarks. I think when you're starting out, you know, I think $500 a day might be a good starting point, you know, especially somebody who's got a decent body of work, you know, and you're kind of doing the one-man band thing. I mean, you know, everybody's starting point is kind of different, and it kind of depends on the job, but, you know, I think $500 a day is fair to shoot some stuff. I do. You know, and the scale changes, you know, it's like, and I'm cool sharing this with you guys. You guys are my patrons, you know, commercial jobs, you know, I'll make between $3,000 and $5,000 a day. You know, that's the type of rates that are out there. You know, but it takes a while to get to the point where, and here's the thing, there's some jobs that come across my desk where they say, hey, you know, we're interested in Cooper lensing this commercial. Can you send rate information? And now it's ironclad. You know, my admin will send over, hey, this is his rate, plus per diem, travel, lodging, whatever, like all of the, depending on the scope of the project. And they'll say, oh, is that a budget? You know, so that like takes the business off the table. Like I said, eventually you've got to be willing to lose business to stand up for your rate. You can't be bullied by these people. You know, everybody's going to try to get the best deal. Eventually you've got to say what's worth your time, you know, what warrants your body of work. And so, you know, Q, I would just encourage you, man, do what's fair. You know what I mean? Be fair. I think as a starting point, maybe $500 a day is a good place to start. I certainly think that's fair. If you can produce good images, if your stuff's in focus and your composition's decent, I think $500 a day is fair. And you're bringing a camera to the table. I don't know. I think that's fair. Somebody might say something different. That's just my opinion, but you know,
I've kind of been doing an hourly thing, or like if it's like a project where like I have to, you know, write a script as well. And I kind of charge a project rate. Kind of what helped me a little bit is like, I kind of lucked up and landed like a government contract, which was like a pretty healthy budget. It was like a $50,000 contract early on. So like, I just usually, that's like my go-to, like, so I'm just like, well, you know, this was the budget on this. And so, you know, and if you don't have that budget, I can kind of skip, you know, I just kind of make it work, but honestly, I'm winging it most of the time. I kind of just try to feel out what their budget is and then see if it's kind of worth it for me. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of become more, you know, in the know as far as like the standards out there. So I know that I'm, you know what I mean, that I'm not charging too little or too much or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think for a commercial DP, you know, and some guys charge differently. There's some DPs who you get them, and depending on the job, like I said, their jobs, if the budget isn't there and they say, hey, like the budget isn't there, is there any sort of things that work? If I really feel strongly about the project, I might say, hey, I'll charge a flat fee and I'll count my camera or whatever. Every job's differently. So there are times where it's not, but like right off the bat, I think it's important to be bold and establish your worth. Like right off the bat, if you're kind of like, what's your budget? You know, that's advantageous for them because of course they're going to lowball. They're going to say, well, we're kind of doing this. And every single time we always pray that they're going to be like, it's this and it's great. And, you know, the rainbows and the skies part and like, they've got money, but they're always going to kind of play dumb. Like, you know what I mean? But furthermore, Q, I think it's important to never compete with one. I don't think it's healthy to compete, period, in this industry. Like we're only competing with ourselves, really, I feel. But I don't think it's right. I don't think it's a good idea to compete on cost. You don't want to be known as the person who the only reason he got the job is because he charged the least. That's not good for the industry. And so I think something you may want to consider, talk to people who are doing the same level of work you are currently, get a feel for what they're charging. You can really, funny enough, you can piss off some people. Like, and I found this out the hard way starting out. I'll be honest with you guys. Like, you know, I bumped my head a lot, boom, boom, like trying to figure this thing out. You know, and this was when I was starting out. I was 19 years old and I was shooting weddings at the time. I didn't know people were shooting weddings. I just know I had a T2i, I had the stock lens. I want to shoot weddings, right? And so I'm coming now, I had some natural ability. And so I was starting to book some weddings or whatever. And I was charging nothing. I think I was charging like $300 or $400 for weddings. And the wedding shooters in town I started pissing them off because I was diluting our industry, man. Like, and at first I was like, why are they so mad at me? Like, I'm just out here at my T2i trying to make a little money, trying to pay for my apartment in Grandview. Like, give me a break, man. They were mad because like we have to maintain a standard for our rates. Because if we don't, imagine if everybody starts to charge less, they consider undercutting, of course, and they start to pay less, and then our economy kind of goes down, and they expect that from everyone, and so it dilutes our industry if we're not maintaining those rates. And so just kind of keep that in mind too. Be talking to guys in your scene, like what are they charging? Get a feel for that. You don't want to be known as the person who's undercutting anyone or lowballing or anything like that. It's not healthy. It's not good. It's a bad look for your reputation. Rather be known as a person who charges so much that they can't book you, rather than someone who's competing on price and they're just doing whatever to get the job. You'll run yourself through the mill doing that. You'll spin your wheels. It's just not a good look, man. So I would say always shoot high rather than shoot low. That's one thing. I mean, it's kind of a given. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know from that standpoint, but always go high. Like I'd rather have them say, "Ooh, I can't do it," than be the person who is dragged through the mill because they're just trying to get the job. You know what I mean? So I'm saying, like I said, as someone who I was undercutting the wedding videographers unbeknownst to me. Oh God, I was a knucklehead, man. Oh, I was a knucklehead. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to mention, but I forgot what it was. Crap, I can't think of it. Dang, that sucks. It was something. I think it was a really funny story or whatever. But yeah, good question, Q. It's tough. The rate thing is tricky, but yeah, shoot high, stand your ground. You know, sometimes you got to stand up to clients and let them know, hey, this is what I charge, guys. I stand on that. I stand on my price. I stand behind my work. They like that too. Let me put it this way: if people want something, they want you, and they know you bring value to the table, they'll pay it. These agencies, these brands, they try to play dumb, like they don't have the money to spend. They have marketing budgets for a reason. Don't feel bad about charging your worth, because that money has to go somewhere. They pay taxes just like anyone else. They have write-offs, and so don't feel bad for charging what's fair. Sometimes we get this, and I'm saying this to someone starting out. When I had the same question of like, you know, I've got to work with them. You know, they try to play dumb, like they don't have money to spend. They've got money to spend. They have to spend it because they pay taxes or it goes to you. Which one do they want? Do they want a quality, you know, commercial, or do they want to give it to Uncle Sam? You know what I mean? And so keep that in mind. They've got to spend this money, man. So, you know, don't feel bad about charging what you're worth, right? So just something to keep in mind. Cool. So, oh, dope, Britt. So currently working on a promotional content docuseries for Hospital Group here in North. Oh, okay, cool. About local participation and funding. Dang, bro, that's amazing. Do you have any links? Yeah, drop a link, man. I want to check that out. That sounds amazing. Okay, you're working on a flip show. Dope, man. Very dope. Very dope. Maya, for you guys that came a little late, Maya's running a GoFundMe right now for an amazing series that she's doing called We Are Maya. She's so, yo, Maya, if you want to hop on one more time.
Yeah, so outside of my cinematography and editing, I have created a series, #WeirdMaya, that I also act in. So I guess I'm kind of going the Issa Rae approach with this. It's a web-based series right now, but I've launched a GoFundMe to fund an exclusive episode that I want to use to work on pitching it to networks and hopefully to fund the pilot. So it's a process, but I'm going for it. And yeah, I'm just learning every day, and it's a passion project, but I really believe in it. So it's coming along.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited for you. Like,
thank you. I'll put in the links to the web series and the GoFundMe.
So really, really excited about that. it's gonna be really cool. And I saw you got the that I sent you a message on Instagram connecting you with those other creatives that
Yes.
potentially be interested. So I hope you get a chance to follow up with them. I think it'd be really cool. So. Oh, okay, yeah. Isaac's a great DP. Really, really cool. Okay, yeah, nice, man. Let's connect soon. I'm in town. Let's see, I have the show next week, but it's Labor Day. Yeah, maybe in a few weeks we can connect. I go to LA for a week, and then when I get back, we can grab coffee or whatever. So that's dope, man. I hope that goes well. Funny enough, that's the crazy thing about DPs. We never really meet each other. You know what I mean? It's like I've got a few, but like we're never on the same show together, and so it's kind of hard for us to meet. Isaac's a guy who I've never met, and so but we know of each other. So I hope that show goes well. I think he's a great shooter, and so yeah, good luck with that, man. Keep me in the loop about that. I hope that really goes well. Dope. Working on promo content. Oh, cool. I'll click that link to watch later. Thanks for sharing that, Britt. Let's see, Brady, you wanna plug anything you're doing, my friend? You've got a show in Salina, right? You said you've got
heading out to kind of around the Kansas City area, a couple of hours outside of that, doing kind of a short documentary on a client, kind of their history and where they're from. Also trying to rescue a project I did for the city of Kansas City for their water department. There's nothing like having to do a project where you have to justify what people pay on their water bill. So, and then you're like, okay, well, how do we make people feel good about what they're paying for the water? Anyways, yeah, so lots of little things going on here and there, a couple different shoots and edits at the same time.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I hope that show in Salina goes well. That sounds really, really cool, man. Good luck with those shows, for sure. Alec, what's up, bro? I don't think you've got a mic. I don't know if you dropped what you got going on in the okay, Bryn reached out to some friends trying to get some grip work, but still getting settled in a new place. Just recently picked up John Alton's book. Yeah, yo, so many people in this group have been getting Painting with Light by John Alton. Oh my God, I don't know if that's the book. That is the book. Oh my goodness. It's like poetry. It's like lighting poetry. It's like really, really introspective, kind of like higher level aspects, like broad strokes, but that's good, man. Let me know what you think of it, man. I liked it. Some people are kind of like, there's not enough hard techniques necessarily, but I think from a poetic perspective and like feeling light, I think it's really a great resource. Dope. Jess, what you got, bro? I don't know if did you already plug what you got? Oh, I think you there, Justin?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
The music show.
Right. Okay, perfect. And then Jess, what's up, Jess?
Hey, I'm still working on the Noir music video treatment in the script, but I'll share a quick story about today and why I'm so late. I was at Keslow.
Okay.
And I thought about what you said about having a positive attitude while doubling back. Because so I'm working on a Fox TV show. I'm the prep tech. And basically my boss is like, we're pretty swamped, so you're kind of on your own working with the ACs on this. Good luck. So I basically had to pull all the gear. It's a 3-camera setup. They all have Fizz kits, wireless video, studio Madbox, clamp on Madbox, 4 17-inch monitors, Aja boxes, etc. So it's like I spent the whole day pulling it, making sure everything was paired. And then they've been prepping, and this was the second day they prepped. But things was going smooth. It was like a little too smooth, though. I was like, something's not right. So the DP shows up. And this is like the last show he worked on was Empire. So everybody's all like, I don't know, the vibe gets weird when the DP like him shows up. And they were having like a powwow. And then they got to the powwow, and then my coworker, the marketing agent, he came up to me and had this like nervous look on his face. And he was kind of like, so that stuff you pulled, yeah, they want a D cam now. So if you could just go ahead and pull that all over again. And the Paralinx kits you pulled, they were like 3-to-1 kits. He was like, yeah, they want Teradek now. So if you could just go ahead and take their Paralinx and give them Teradek. And I was like, I could have been mad because I did get like a lot of OT time pulling all that. But I was like, you know what? All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and do it. And so, yeah, I just did it. And it kind of worked in my favor because, like, instead of being frustrated about it, I was kind of like, well, Paralinx and Teradek, they merged companies. So their accessories are all the same. And so I was like, I'll just swap out your receivers and transmitters, keep everything else. So it was actually really easy. And it wasn't so bad. So hopefully that made sense to everybody.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good because you know it happens, and no one likes to have to double back on work or whatever. But it's good when you just say, "Charge to the game." It is what it is. You know, it's frustrating, yeah, but like ultimately you're there to work anyway. I always got to remember that it's like we're here to do a job, and stuff's gonna happen where you got to double back. So I think that's really good that you just said, "Hey, it is what it is, and let's get it done." So that's dope. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. By the way, guys, if any of you guys need a plug at Keslo, Jessica, she runs the place. I'm pretty sure you prep. Have you sent Cook S4s to Kansas City?
Maybe. We do deal with a lot of S4s actually. So probably. That probably was me.
Gotcha. That's awesome. It's crazy to think that maybe you've prepped jobs that I've done because we get a lot of stuff from Keslo. Because we don't have S4s in Kansas City, and so if it's a Kansas City show and I need cut glass or something a little bit more exotic, we got to usually go through Keslo or LA. So anyway, yeah, Jessica is really, really good to know. Jessica, if you want to drop your info, and if you guys feel free to drop any sort of plug in the chat. We've kind of gone over time a little bit, but this has been a lot of fun. Like I said, I really, really feel bad that the that the recording messed up from the other day because that was a really fun live stream too. But this has been really good, and it's been nice. It's been a good day off, and so it feels good to hang out with you guys and hopefully answer some questions and yeah, just chat. So appreciate it, guys. Feel free to like I said, if you want to drop any sort of links before we head out of here, I'll end this here in about 30 seconds. But it's been a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys jumping on here last minute and hanging out. It's been good. So,
hey, Coop, real quick, which pieces did you say you shot with the Ursa Mini 4.6K?
You talking about for the Evolve piece?
Evolve. Okay. Was that the one with the Amanda Bucci?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so Amanda's and Summers, those were Ursa Mini shows.
Okay, cool, nice. Thanks, man.
Yeah, you got it. So cool. All right, guys, have a good night. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, like I said, if you guys ever have frames, new projects, please post. I want to keep up with what you guys are doing. I want to see the new work. I want to see the growth. And same, I want to make it very clear. It's like I'm waist deep in my craft as well. Even though we're working and doing jobs, it's always important to grow. I don't pretend to know everything. I just know what I know. And, I want to share that with you guys. And so, I'm constantly learning and growing as well. And so that's the really exciting thing about this group is to continue sharing ideas with each other. And I want to get you guys in the game as well and sharing ideas with each other and checking out each other's work and building a network and meeting people and maybe crewing up with each other. That's really exciting to me. So I appreciate you guys being patrons, and this is really exciting. And stay tuned. I got this haymaker coming next week. Ooh, this breakdown's gonna be crazy too. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night. Later.